From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome. President Buhari receives herbal formulation against COVID-19 from Madagascar from the president of Guinea-Bissau, but insists he would be guided by science before approving it for use by Nigerians. 67 COVID-19 patients discharged from various isolation centers in Lagos. More recoveries also recorded in Jigawa, Yobe, Imo, Taraba and other states. Tourism and hospitality industry takes a hit from COVID-19 pandemic as operators call for intervention by the government to revive the sector and avert looming job losses. And one of the most wanted suspects in the Rwandan genocide, Felicien Kabuga, arrested near the French capital Paris. Plus you see business and sports later on.
On business news tonight, analysts maintain projections for higher inflation rate in April ahead of official data from the National Bureau of Statistics next week.
And on sports news tonight, International Olympic Committee signs agreement with the World Health Organization to promote healthy lifestyles as a tool for global health.
The president has received the herbal formulation from Madagascar touted to be effective in the treatment of COVID-19. President Muhammadu Buhari, who received the item from Guinea-Bissau's President Omaro Embalo at the State House, however, said he would be guided by science before allowing any new medicines to be administered on Nigerians. The president also promised the visiting Guinea-Bissau leader of Nigeria's support as he begins the effort to rebuild his country following his election victory. Our State House correspondent Ibrahim Adra reports.
President Omaro Embalo arrives the residential wing of the State House in Abuja at about midday Saturday. The day and venue of this meeting suggests its informal nature. However, President Muhammadu Buhari was on hand to receive him. The closed-door meeting lasted about an hour, after which President Embalo gave reasons for his visit.
You know, me with President Buhari, we don't have the relation between two presidents. It's the son and the father. This kind of relation I have with Baba. And for me, in this situation or another situation, I can come to see greet my father. That's why I'm here.
Controversy has trailed the election of Mr. Omaro Embalo. However, last month, the ECOWAS acknowledged him as winner of Guinea-Bissau rerun. Nigeria's Foreign Minister Geoffrey Onyema says Mr. Embalo is ready to form a government of unity.
He wants to form a government of national unity and also to move on to the constitution. So that is essentially what he has come here to inform the president of his plans to bring all the parties together.
He also plans to follow in the footsteps of President Buhari in fighting corruption in his country, a move President Buhari is in support of.
The president supported him and assured him that Nigeria was going to be behind him and that he, Mr. President, is always available to give him advice and to support him in any way possible because he, Mr. President, believes in the stability of all the countries of the West African region.
Meantime, a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, regarding the visit indicates that the President received the Madagascar native formulation against COVID-19. But insists he will listen to science before its use. The president says, we have our institutions, systems and processes in the country. Any such formulations should be sent to them for verification. I will not put it to use without the endorsement of our institutions. In spite of ECOWAS' position on the Guinea-Bissau election, there are still rumblings in the country of less than 2 million people according to a 2018 figure. It is agreed that it will take all political actors to come together to work for the stability of the country. From Abuja, Ibrahim Adra, reporting for Channels Television News.
A 4-month-old baby and 6 health workers are among the 20 new cases of COVID-19 recorded in Kaduna State. This was confirmed by the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Amina Baloni, who says 15 of the cases are family members or close contacts of previously confirmed cases. She explains that the infant, who had been brought to a hospital for respiratory issues, was tested in accordance with the updated guidelines, which advise that persons presenting such symptoms be tested. Her parents have also been tested and their results are being awaited. The new cases are spread across 7 local government areas. According to the Commissioner, the widening spread of COVID-19 means that the risk of infection has increased for persons who do not stay at home or who fail to observe necessary precautions when they go out. Over in Taraba State, they appear to be winning the fight against COVID-19 as all 17 confirmed COVID-19 positive patients in the state have recovered and been discharged from the state's treatment center. Governor Darius Ishaku said this during an inspection of a 100-bed capacity isolation center located at the NYC orientation camp in Adokola local government area of the state. While this is good news, the governor says that the state is planning ahead by creating isolation centres and asking for partnerships, which would make equipping the centres easy.
It's an NYC orientation camp in Sibre, Adokola local government area, now equipped to cater for persons positive with COVID-19 in Taraba State. With 100 bed space capacity, this is the biggest so far, but the governor is quick to note that the state needs to work on expanding its capacity.
I'm thinking we should have 200. So we're targeting to have another 100 to be well equipped, just in case that we do have positive persons that come. But for now, we're low, but I can say for future. And I need, apart from testing the equipment, I need ventilators. We just have 4. We just purchased 4. We're expecting 2 more to come. They are not enough.
The state currently has no active confirmed case of COVID-19, as all 17 persons discovered after testing 220 samples have tested negative. For now, though, there's the responsibility of caring for the 87 Almajirai repatriated from other states.
The Almajiri children that are in our care, that was brought from other states that are Tarabans. After they are all negative now, the ones we have, we're hoping the second feedback of the test will be all negative so that we can now take them to their various parents. We are now trying to identify the parents, the location, towns and villages they are, so that we can send them.
The equipped treatment center is a product of a partnership between Taraba State Government and a second-generation bank, but the governor is calling for more partners in donation of medical equipment and curbing the spread of the virus.
Well, it's good news from some isolation centres in various parts of the country. In Lagos, 67 more persons who had been battling with the virus have now fully recovered. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu announced this in a statement today, saying the recovered patients are 22 females, 45 males, including 3 foreign nationals, 2 Indians and a Chinese. With the latest development, the number of patients successfully managed and discharged from isolation facilities in Lagos State stands at 608. Meanwhile, a positive COVID-19 patient has also been delivered of a baby boy through a cesarean section at the Igbagada Isolation Centre. Governor Sanwo-Olu asked Lagosians to support the government in its drive to rid the state of the COVID-19 pandemic by complying with all the directives and the safety protocols. It's more recoveries this time in Jigawa State. 55 COVID-19 patients have recovered and been discharged after testing negative twice for the virus. This brings the total number of discharged patients in the state to 62, with sadly 3 fatalities. The Commissioner of Health and Chairman of the state's task force on COVID-19, Dr. Abba Zakari, who confirmed this to journalists in Dutse, the capital, says they're hoping to discharge more soon. However, the state has recorded additional 15 cases. This is according to latest figures from the NCDC, bringing the total number in that state to 191.
I'm pleased to inform you that 55 patients have turned negative. So today we are discharging 55 patients, which I think is a very good milestone that we have achieved. Out of the samples that we sent, is a total of about 117 results that we received. 15 are positive. And out of those 15, 9 are from Dutse, 3 from Brununkudu, 2 from Hadeja, and 1 from Gumel, making a total of 15. But we have actually adopted a protocol. And the protocol that we adopted is we give hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, zinc sulfate, and also aspirin. And for those that are asymptomatic, we give them zinc, multivite, and then aspirin.
In the meantime, in Bauchi State, 28 coronavirus patients have recovered and have been discharged from the isolation center. With this new numbers, the number of persons that have recovered from the virus are now 69. The Commissioner of Health, Aliyu Maigoro, confirmed this to Channels Television, adding that there are now 140 active cases with 3 deaths in the state. And 6 COVID-19 patients, including the index case in the state, have been discharged from the isolation center in Damaturu, the Yobe state capital. This was announced by the Commissioner of Health, Dr. Lawan Ghana, who stated that 2 doctors, 6 nurses, and 1 laboratory scientist among the current active cases in Yobe. The state now has a total of 32 confirmed cases of COVID-19, 21 of them active, and 5 deaths. Meanwhile, the state government yesterday received another batch of 58 Almajiri children evacuated from Adamawa State. It's more cheery news from Imo State, where 3 COVID-19 patients have been discharged out of the 7 confirmed and active cases recorded there. The state governor, Hope Uzodinma, who briefed journalists at the government house in Owerri, the state capital, said the patients were discharged after testing negative twice to the virus. He said the 4 patients remaining at the isolation center are responding well to treatment.
Out of 7 cases in Imo State, so we have discharged a total of 3 persons, remaining 4. And the 4 are undergoing treatment. So it brings to this current status 3 discharged people who have turned negative in line with the guidelines of National Center for Disease Control. So as of today in Imo State, the tally is now 4 persons that are yet to be treated successfully. We don't have any other new case.
Still in the southeast, the Ebonyi state government is not left out among the state, recording recoveries from COVID-19 as one of the patients receiving treatment at the isolation center has also been discharged. The State Commissioner for Health, Mr. Umezurike Daniel, who confirmed this, said that the patient tested negative and will be issued a certificate of discharge in due course. He, however, warned that individuals still need to practice measures to curb the spread of COVID-19.
COVID-19 has a peculiar characteristic that somebody that has suffered it can still be reinfected. We also explained to the general public that there is no room for stigmatization, because when you are cured of COVID, you are cured. I equally thank the frontline health workers who has demonstrated a lot of courage and sacrifices to take care of these patients.
In part 2, after the break, residents of Lagos begin to adjust to wearing of masks and other safety protocols aimed at curbing the spread of COVID-19 in the state. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Buhari receives herbal formulation against COVID-19 from Madagascar, insists he would be guided by science before approving it for use by Nigerians. 67 COVID-19 patients discharged from various isolation centres in Lagos. More recoveries also recorded in Jigawa, Yobe, Imo, Taraba and other states. Tourism and hospitality industry takes a hit from the COVID-19 pandemic as operators call for intervention by governments to revive the sector and avert looming job losses. And one of the most wanted suspects in the Rwandan genocide, Felicien Kabuga, arrested near the French capital, Paris. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using a mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via smart TV platforms, Apple TV, Android TV, Fire, and Roku TV. And indeed, more recoveries. COVID-19, this time in Osun State, where another coronavirus patient has recovered and has been discharged. This brings the number of cases successfully managed and discharged in Osun State to 32. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Rafiu Isamotu, explained in a statement that with the recovery and so far, the state now has 6 active COVID-19 cases who are receiving treatment at its isolation center. And Bayelsa State in the South, 2 coronavirus patients have been discharged after testing negative twice for the virus. The state now has only 1 active case of the disease. This is coming 5 days after the index case, and 2 others were discharged following their full recovery. Lagos remains the epicenter of the virus in the state with the highest number of coronavirus cases. For some time now, the guidelines issued by the federal and state governments for easing the lockdown have been observed in the breach by many residents. However, following several warnings and threats of more stringent measures from authorities, there seems to be some level of compliance. This next report brings an update on the latest developments in some parts of the city.
Lagos is known for its hustle and bustle regardless of the day. Despite the ease of the lockdown, many choose to remain at home during weekends. The human traffic outside is less compared to the rush during weekdays. The situation takes a toll on intrastate public transport. Motor parks around Berger entry point are almost deserted by commuters.
This is my boss. It's here since 6 o'clock. I don't know the time I will load now. Look at all the bus here now. Nobody I ever go one. Look at this one now, since 6 o'clock.
The use of face masks in public seems not to be a cause for concern around Lagos. Except for a few people who care less about wearing it, the level of compliance with the wearing of face masks appears to have improved.
For me, I go out anytime I need to go out, when I'm going to work or any other thing, and I make sure of my face mask. For the few hours I'm outside, it's very good for me and very convenient.
The same cannot be said of physical distancing. People are still seen in clusters, not mindful of the 2-meter requirement in the least. To a large extent, buses are loading at 60% passenger capacity, but this comes with additional cost in fare.
Because of the virus, we want to short 2 passengers. We were carrying 7 people, carrying 5 people now. So we don't want to do like that. The only thing there is that here we are carrying 150 before, we carry 200. Here we are carrying 100 naira, we carry 150.
The enforcement of the government's directive falls on security and traffic officers. The general manager of the Lagos Traffic Management Authority explains the level of compliance and challenges during implementation.
Interfacing with the public, I think, is the most difficult to enforce, in the sense that even when I talk to you and I ask you, can you please put your face mask on? just because the person looks at many things like maybe this man has a bit of authority. So they pretend they put it back on. But as soon as I turn my back or I go, they put it back down again. I think the physical distancing, it's okay to a certain degree in moving vehicles because they're susceptible to being arrested. And there are penalties to pay and the delay and the costs. But the physical distancing at bus stops is extremely poor, as in poor and scary.
The number of those infected with the coronavirus disease has been on the rise since the phased and gradual lifting of the lockdown began. The Presidential Task Force attributes this to increased testing. While the enforcement of compliance with directives is necessary, there's also a need for more public enlightenment on the dangers of not keeping to the rules.
And schools have resorted to e-learning as a way to keep pupils and students engaged following restrictions arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. Weeks into the launch of radio, television and online classes for students, parents in some communities in Lagos have been unable to ensure their children and wards participate. Our technology correspondent, Victor Matthias, reports that lack of electricity and funds to buy data and computer hardware are some of the challenges parents are facing.
It's 12:15 p.m. on a Friday in Lagos, Nigeria, and while some students are in their classes via online radio as well as television, some are right behind me here playing football, and their reasons are not far-fetched. This is because of some factors that has made them to be where they are at the moment.
Iwaya, a suburb of Lagos with low-income earners and workers in the informal sector. The day breaks and the men gather round for a game of Ludo while the women get their wares ready for the day. As schools remain shut due to COVID-19, the kids have no access to the internet, and where television is available, electricity is a stumbling block. They turn to football, playing in sets, and while they wait, no form of social distancing is maintained.
They asked us to stay at home. And the little one that we have, we are still managing it, and you are expecting us to be playing online.
They said they will be transmitting it on the radio, 11 to 1. At times when you turn on to the radio, it will not clear. That of the TV, from 2 to 4. As we are discussing now, there's no light, there's no electricity. How can they now go for the program?
Àwọn ọmọ yẹn ò lọ sí school láti jọ. Àdèlè mú ìṣe owó lápò mo fi ń tajà. Àwọn lápò gan tí ń fẹ́ máa disturb wa pé bóyá ká sanwó padà. So àdèlè mú owó lápò sìn káwá lọ fi ṣe online fún àwọn ọmọ. So àwọn ọmọ náà dẹ̀ wá lé wọn lọ sí school. Mi ti wọ́n dẹ̀ sí lesson gan wọn lọ anywhere. Àjọ wà ń lé ni.
For the kids, their challenges vary.
I'm not attending the online classes because I don't have data.
The new lesson and the symbiote learning is using data, and I don't have much money to buy data on my phone. So that's why I use TV.
Meanwhile, few minutes to 11 a.m. in the Ikeja axis of Lagos State, this student picks his chair and table in preparation for his class on radio.
Make use of correlative conjunctions in sentences correctly.
Just as another student sets up few minutes to 2 p.m. for the tele class.
It has been really different from our normal learning in school. In school, we have to do a lot of subjects at once at a stretch. Let me say 5 to 6 hours doing a lot of subjects. But now with this coronavirus, just at home, then we just do 3 radio lessons the Lagos State government organized.
The principal of Agidingbi Grammar School, which is under lock and key, says the school monitors the students' progress as they learn from home.
We have been monitoring our students on their how they are faring. We have a way of evaluating what they are doing through the platform we have. So there have been questions given to them, and they have been answering the questions, and that gives us the courage that even during the time of lockdown, they were all busy doing something substantial and progressing in their academics.
Hopefully, as time goes on, those in the suburbs will have access to internet data and electricity to enable them join their counterparts in the urban areas in learning as the world continues the war against COVID-19. Victor Matthias, Channels Television News.
We'll be examining those challenges a little later on the program. Most sectors of the economy have been negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and the hospitality and tourism sector is not left out. Billions of dollars have been lost. Job losses loom as owners of hotels, tourist destinations struggle to make ends meet. Some of the industry players are calling on the government to extend its intervention to the sector, as well as grant tax holidays to help cushion the effect of the pandemic on their businesses.
COVID-19 has impacted on every industry and everyone living and working across the globe. The hospitality industry is among businesses that have been hit the hardest, with a real economic impact. Statistics from the International Air Transport Association reveals that there's an estimated loss of revenue of about $252 billion as at March 2020 in the air transport sector, as well as 4.7 million fewer travels, and this has affected the hospitality and tourism sector. In Nigeria, most hotels that used to be a beehive of activities are now a shadow of themselves, owing to the lockdown by the federal government. Managers of the hotels now contend with multifaceted issues of low income, high electricity bills, and how to pay workers on their payroll.
After a staff payroll cost, our biggest single cost is electricity. This is a big property. We need to keep the air conditioning running 24 hours a day, even if it's just on a low level. Air conditioning, for instance, accounts for more than 65% of the total electricity bill. So even with no customers, you've got to keep the air conditioning running.
Most of the staff, everybody's at home. It's just me and the security man and one of the housekeepers that is cleaning the environment. It has really affected us seriously because nobody planned for this. And it's not as if anybody has savings that, oh, we are planning for such, let's save a lot. So a lot of staffs are home, crying for money, nothing, no food. It has really not been easy on us at all.
To survive the hard economic conditions posed by the COVID-19 pandemic on the tourism and hospitality sector, key players in the industry are calling for an intervention for the sector.
We are not addressing the issue as it is.
Failure to do so will have grave economic consequences on the over 2.5 million people in the sector.
We need to be supported because if it is not done, it means we are going to have additional problems in our country because most of our people that are employed in the hospitality industry will have to be laid off. And if they are laid off, it's going to create more burden on the Nigerian economy, thereby creating room for crimes and other social vices.
1 out of 10 human beings on the surface of the earth, one works in the hospitality and tourism industry. That's how large it is, because it's one industry that reaches out to everybody. Everybody in your own sector. You have an opportunity. And this is why we are crying out to the government. They cannot just, leave us to hang and dry. It's not possible.
The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic is still affecting many sectors, with businesses folding up. Nigerians are watching how the government intends to assist in tackling this challenge in the days ahead.
The coronavirus sweeping through different sectors. When the News at 10 returns, we have more updates on COVID-19. A professor of education joins us on the online learning. Plus, in business, analysts maintain projections for higher inflation rates in April ahead of official data from the National Bureau of Statistics next week. And COVID-19 has indeed altered the way of life of Nigerians, not sparing the system of education, with pupils, students having to adjust to learning online. But how effective is this? How can we keep open or sustain the doors of learning in the COVID-19 era? Joining us to discuss the issue is a professor of education and pro-chancellor of Nasarawa State University, Professor Adamu Baike. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10. Tell us, how would you respond to the e-learning system currently evolving as part of measures to tackle the impact of the pandemic on education in the country?
Well, my reaction is simply to say that this is
clearly an emergency situation, and that is being controlled by the injection of e-learning system in order to ensure that the children are not left lying fallow in this period of corona virus. But e-learning in itself is a very involving exercise, and it requires a lot of planning in order to make it effective. And if e-learning is being introduced at this point in time, without adequate planning, you will find that only a section of the academic program of the schools will be attended to. Very little is being done in the e-learning system that is now in vogue. In the sciences, not to talk of medicine and other science-related subjects. But by and large, it is a welcome development, and I hope this will be seen as a first step to indeed expanding the horizon of the e-learning system to involve all the country and the children of this country. I want to say, however, that e-learning is in the sense that we know it now, as against what we used to know before. It's not new to the educational system of Nigeria. Right now we have the National Open University, or Nigerian Open University, and it is waxing in strength from the programs that it has been prosecuting. But before now, we had a very virile schools broadcasting unit attached to the Federal Ministry of Education. It was headquartered in Kaduna, and it was a very, very successful program. But it was, as is true of many things we do in this country, it was allowed to wither away. And many of the people who are very well trained in transmitting education through the radio were, some of them, prematurely retired from the service. But e-learning is not a separate system from the education package of the country. It is part and parcel of the education system of the country, and it should be packaged in such a way that when the time for e-learning comes in, it is teaching what is already in the curriculum of the schools and not teaching something that is outside the curriculum of the school. So the injection of e-learning into the present emergency situation is a welcome development. And I have interacted with students who have been following this program very well, and they seem to be liking the idea, the program, because at least it's keeping them busy, and they are learning a lot from it. So this is, I would say, the nuclear. Starting the way we are starting it now should be followed up and expanded to cover the whole country as much as possible. It's a welcome development, and I think we should go ahead and explore the possibilities that it presents and make good use of it. Look for
Professor Bake, I must come in now because I quickly want you to give me an answer to this question before we let you go, and that is, seeing as there are certain challenges of parents now, you talked about the pandemic being an emergency situation, how do we meet this in terms of funds to buying computer hardware, in terms of technology, the internet, also in terms of electricity?
Well, if you are going to embark on e-learning, I'm afraid there is no option but to take care of all these points you have raised. It is not a very simple, it is not a joke. And you either do it and do it well, or don't get involved at all. So if e-learning is going to have an impact and it's going to go around the country as we expect it should, then all the component parts that constitute what e-learning delivers must be made available. Otherwise, I think it's better to steer clear of getting involved in an exercise that you cannot see through. Or don't make it national, make it regional or zonal in order to maybe areas where you have most out-of-school children, they should be benefiting from e-learning that is tailor-made to suit their own conditions, and then provide the basic necessities that will enable them to learn from whatever that may be taught to them. But e-learning, in addition to that, I must add also that you must have teachers who can teach abstractly and make abstract teaching alive. This is very, very important, because if you don't make it alive, then the student will not listen, and then the whole thing will just collapse right in the face of people who have planned it.
That is true. A lot of procrastination there with online learning, but it is important that we ensure that learning never stops the spirit. We'd like to thank you, Pro-Chancellor of Nasarawa State University, a Professor of Education, Professor Adamu Baikai. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
Now, as the COVID-19 pandemic persists, officials of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, have expressed worries over the plight of orphans and other vulnerable persons. The Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Julie Donley Oka, was speaking when she distributed palliatives to representatives of vulnerable persons in Abuja, while appealing for more support from Nigerians in catering for this group of persons.
These palliatives were donated to us by the Ministry of FCT, the Federal Capital Territory. The Honorable Minister of State for FCT presented these palliatives to us, and we in turn want to share some of it, not all of it, because we've kept some for NAPTIP shelters as well. So we decided to share to 7 other of our partners, and that's why we're here today. The rice is on the way, so our partners will be a little bit patient and wait for your 3 bags of rice each, which we are going to be giving to you. This is going to be coming from time to time. The more we get, the more we give, so that we can receive more.
It's now time for some business news. Here's Teniola Shubawale.
Business news. Economic analysts have maintained their projections for higher inflation rate in April, which would mark the 8th consecutive monthly increase. This comes as Nigeria's inflation hit a 23-month high of 12.26% in March, which was largely attributed to the border closure as well as increase in basic food prices. Last week, economic research and advisory firm Financial Derivatives Company forecast the rate to rise further by 0.69% in the figure to 12.95% in April, which would be the highest level since 2018 if it matches the official figures expected to be released by the National Bureau of Statistics later this month. The National Bureau of Statistics is expected to release the April inflation data early next week. Nigeria's stock market ends the second trading week of May in negative territory, with the main index and total of listed equities both down by 0.72% after profit-taking outweighed bargain hunting for stocks on the NSE. The sell pressure affected mostly the industrial goods sector of the market, which dipped by more than 2%, while the insurance and the banking sector followed with 0.56% and 0.03% loss in that order. Stocks performance on the price chart ended the 5 trading session with 30 gainers, led by 50.85% increase on Nigeria Police Microfinance Bank's share price. UACN Property Development Company is ahead of 27 other losers with a 13.04% loss, while 103 equities remain unchanged. Total volume of shares transaction for the week was lower, 900 926.4 million units compared to 1.66 billion shares traded in the 4 sessions last week, while FBN Holdings, Zenith and GT Bank dominated the trade list. Industrial giant Lafarge Africa has released its first quarter result for the period ended March 31st, 2020, showing a resilience in its group performance. According to the financial statement sent to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the cement maker posted 9.8% growth in revenue at 63.69 billion naira compared to 58.01 billion naira reported same period last year. Similarly, the group's net assets rose by 2.3% to 352.98 billion naira. Pre-tax profits surged by 14.5% to 9.38 billion naira. After-tax profit jumped by 28.0% to 8.06 billion naira, while its earning per share was higher by 2.3% at 50 kobo. More company news now. Diversified conglomerate Transcorp Group has also released the results of its first quarter earnings performance for the first quarter of 2020. Highlights of the financial statement sent to the Nigerian Stock Exchange shows that the company posted a lower revenue of 15.39 billion naira in the first 3 months of 2020 against 18.3 billion naira posted same period last year. At the same time, the group recorded a lower gross profit of 7.34 billion naira compared to 8.14 billion naira posted last. Its pre-tax profit came lower at 137.26 billion naira, while its after-tax profit was a dismal 80.79 billion naira compared to 2.09 billion naira reported in the first quarter of 2019. And that's business news tonight. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Taniola. And residents of Kaduna State have been commended for enduring the inconveniences of the lockdown imposed on the state as a means of curbing the spread of COVID-19. Governor Nasser El-Rufai made the commendation in a video where he appeared with his wife, Aisha. He also asked residents for forgiveness over the difficulties experienced at this time. He explained that as a COVID-19 survivor, he is in a better position to tell people about how deadly the disease is and why people should avoid being infected.
This is a message from us, from our home to your homes. It is mainly to thank you for staying at home and staying safe during this very difficult period. I know it is difficult for people that are used to the hustle and bustle of life, going out, visiting friends and relations, going to work, going to the markets and going to mosques and churches, to now be told to stay at home. I ask you to bear with us, and for all those of you that have been inconvenienced by staying at home, I seek your forgiveness as your governor. But this has become absolutely necessary to control the spread of this pandemic. This disease is a very dangerous disease. As someone that has gone through it, I can tell you that it is a deadly disease that can end your life. And the only way to stop it is for people not to move around. The virus doesn't have legs. It cannot travel. It can only travel when people carry it around.
Still ahead on the news at 10, German Bundesliga becomes the first major sports league to resume amid the COVID-19 pandemic with 6 matches played today. That's on Sports News. Plus, one of the most wanted suspects in the Rwandan genocide, Felicien Kabuga, arrested near Paris. We have our global update on the coronavirus pandemic. Do stay with us. And to security now, the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has set in disarray Boko Haram terrorists in the Sambisa Forest general area of Borno State following massive airstrikes. In a statement, the military said the operation was executed based on credible intelligence reports which showed that the terrorists had upscaled their activities in the settlement by importing additional fighters. The ATF subsequently dispatched an enhanced attack aircraft and a surveillance platform to engage the location, taking turns in attacking the target area, neutralizing many Boko Haram terrorists as well as destroying their logistics facilities. The Armed Forces of Nigeria, operating with other security agencies and stakeholders, said it will sustain the offensive against the enemies of the nation. For the latest in sports news, here's Kayode Alayande.
Thank you, Millicent. Welcome to Sports News. Action resumed today in the German Bundesliga following an interruption caused by the coronavirus outbreak. Dortmund secured a convincing 4-0 derby win over Schalke at the Signal Iduna Park, while Wolfsburg squeezed past Augsburg 2-1 in a keenly contested encounter which needed a 90th minute goal to decide the winner. Fortuna Düsseldorf and Paderborn played out a goalless draw. Elsewhere, 3 goals within the space of 16 minutes in the second half gave Hertha Berlin a 3-0 victory over Hoffenheim at the Pre-Zero Arena. RB Leipzig and Freiburg settled for a share of the spoils after playing a 1-1 draw, while Borussia Mönchengladbach beat Frankfurt 3-1. Meanwhile, the International Olympic Committee, IOC, has signed an agreement with the World Health Organization, WHO, at the headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, to advocate healthy lifestyles. According to the multilateral organizations, the agreement is an effort to promote healthy lifestyles, including physical activity, sports and active recreation, as a tool for health across the globe. The IOC revealed it would take all the necessary decisions about the staging the Tokyo Olympic Games in July 2021. The World Health Organization said it will continue to give advice as it gathers additional knowledge and understanding of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you, Kayode. And Felicien Kabuga, one of the most wanted suspects in the Rwandan genocide, has been arrested near Paris. Mr. Kabuga was detained by gendarmes in the northwestern suburbs of Paris, where he had been living under a false identity. The International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda has charged the 84-year-old with genocide and crimes against humanity. He is alleged to have been the main financier of the ethnic Hutu extremists who slaughtered 800,000 people in 1994. They were targeting members of the minority Tutsi community as well as their political opponents. The United States had offered a $5 million reward for information leading to Mr. Kabuga's arrest. And the main news again. President Muhammadu Buhari today received the herbal formulation against COVID-19 developed in Madagascar from the president of Guinea-Bissau. The president, however, insisted he would be guided by science before approving it for use by Nigerians. That's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and don't forget the safety protocols this period.